Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome to NoDQ&A video right here on NoDQ.com, as well as the YouTube channel and NoDQ&A videos affiliate, ringsidenews.com. Real quick, I wanted to mention that NoDQ.com and NoDQ&A video t-shirts are now available on ProWrestlingTees.com. You can search for NoDQ and find the shirts there, or check out the link that I will be posting in the description box. Thank you guys for supporting NoDQ&A video. If you really want to support the site and the video show, go buy a t-shirt. Show your love for NoDQ&A video. Got your questions here from spring.me/Aaron Rift. So let's get started with the first one today from Nightwisher91. Hey Aaron, please answer in video. If WWE goes forward with Daniel Bryan versus Dolph Ziggler for WrestleMania, what do you think the storyline will be? Is one of them turning heel? I can't just see the match between two very over baby faces just for the sake of stealing the show. I think that if you were going to do that match at WrestleMania, you really need to make it as big of a deal as possible. Have it be two guys that come out and say that since WWE's holding them back, they're going to have a match at WrestleMania and tear the house down and give fans the best WrestleMania match possible. And then WWE needs to let them go out there and do that. Steal the show, have one of the most memorable matches of all time, which both of those guys are capable of doing. Daniel Bryan versus Dolph Ziggler, who would be the heel? I think that it's not really necessary to turn one of them. Let's face it, the crowd's going to cheer for both of them. So why not do face versus face and let the crowd be split 50-50. Let them cheer, let's go Bryan, let's go Ziggler, do the dual chants. I see no problem with that. I think it would work just fine with them both being baby faces in that match. Alright, this one comes from Wrestling Doom 95. Yoran, do you see WWE bringing back the Elimination Chamber match sometime this year? I think that the odds are good that we will see the Elimination Chamber match again. I think that because of the technical issues with the building for this month's pay-per-view, that's why WWE decided not to do Elimination Chamber. And, they always have the opportunity to do it again. They've done it in the past in various buildings. It just depends on the configuration of the arena. And, the Elimination Chamber is a huge structure. And sometimes the building just won't be feasible to hold the Elimination Chamber. But absolutely, I think WWE would be insane not to have the Elimination Chamber match again. The match is a draw. It's something unique. If you do it once a year and you have the title on the line or you have a title shot on the line, it's a big deal. To me, it makes logical sense. It's one of WWE's most innovative matches, and it's unique. And if they do it once a year and they have a good storyline or they have a good stipulation, they should definitely keep going with it. And not do an Elimination Chamber pay-per-view, but have the match take place when there's a good storyline reason to do it. Alright, this one comes from D the Kid. After watching Paul Heyman's special on the WWE Network, I learned that SmackDown's most successful period was when he was in control. So if Brock Lesnar actually leaves the company after WrestleMania as rumored, what do you think Paul Heyman's role will be? Well, so let me get this straight. Because WWE tells you something on a special that they produced, you believe that as the 100% fact. Is that what I'm understanding here? I'm not arguing with that point. I mean, I think I would agree that the best period of SmackDown from a creative standpoint was when Paul Heyman was in charge of the creative process, and that was during 2002, 2013. So I would agree with that. And as far as his future goes, I don't know if WWE is ever going to put him in a creative position again. Paul Heyman does a tremendous job as a on-screen character, as a manager, in that type of role. I would love to see Paul Heyman work with somebody else besides Brock Lesnar. I'd love to see Paul Heyman work with Seth Rollins. And, Seth Rollins doesn't really need it because he's a great talker. Paul Heyman would, his skills would be best utilized with somebody who's not all that good as a talker, and that works out with Brock Lesnar. Brock Lesnar's best when he's kept quiet, and Paul Heyman can do the talking for him. But there's got to be somebody out there who can benefit from having Paul Heyman as their manager. So I would absolutely keep him around as an on-screen personality, and who knows? I mean, I would love to see Paul Heyman doing creative stuff again, but I don't know if that is in the cards in WWE. All right, this one comes from PunJ93UK. Hey Aaron, first-time asker. Really? JBL using the non-compete clause rule to excuse Daniel Bryan's stripping of the title on Raw after injury, but a perfectly healthy Lesnar doesn't defend for 4 months. Do they take us fans for complete idiots? Yes, they do. But no, seriously, what I think is WWE's reasoning is because Brock Lesnar is a heel, the authority figures aren't really going to enforce the rules on him. With Daniel Bryan, because he's a babyface and they hate him, in storyline, they're going to look for any excuse possible to get the title off of him. So, I mean, you could use that to try and explain logically why Bryan gets stripped, but Brock Lesnar can just come and go when he pleases because he's a heel champion and he's in good graces with the authority and they'll let him get away with it. It is kind of dumb that those rules apply. You would think that in the storyline world that Vince or somebody would come out and say, hey, Brock's got to defend the title more often. But yeah, it's best to not really think about it too much and just check your brain at the door. Because if you start thinking about logic, professional wrestling, WWE sports entertainment, more times than not, there's not much logic behind what they do. It's just, as Triple H even put it on the podcast with Steve Austin, WWE changes as they go along. They listen to the fans, supposedly, and, they just go whatever they want to go with, just on the spur of the moment. And there's not much in the way of long-term planning or thinking, why should we do something, when things could possibly change the next moment. That's WWE's attitude. They don't really do the long-term planning, which is unfortunate, but, that's just the nature of WWE. And with injuries and with all sorts of variables, it is hard to book long-term and keep the storylines logical. The storylines never end, as Triple H put it. They're always writing, and it just keeps going on and on and on. So it's very difficult to keep the same rules and, follow all the rules exactly in the storylines. It's just very difficult. All right, this one comes from Shades on My Table. Hey, Aaron, if WWE and Brock Lesnar work out a deal, do you think he'll keep the title at WrestleMania? I don't think so. With Brock Lesnar, I think that WrestleMania, whether he stays or goes, I think that is the time to get the title off of him. It's just been way too long not having the world champion on Raw every week. It's gotten ridiculous now, and I think it needs to end at WrestleMania. I think WrestleMania is your perfect opportunity to get the title off of Lesnar and establish a new champion, whether it's Roman Reigns or if Bryan gets the match in the end. Regardless, there should be a new champion at WrestleMania, and Brock stays with the company. That's great. You can have him try to win back the title, or probably keep him away from the title and have him work with somebody else, maybe Randy Orton. It just depends on what Brock wants to do, but I think that WrestleMania is definitely the time for him to drop the title. All right, this one comes from Wrestling. I've been tuning in for a bit now, and I love the show. Something that intrigued me was that you said the pipe bomb from CM Punk led to the third busiest day in NoDQ.com history. What situations led to the other busiest days? You can answer. He actually said non-video answer will do, but I'm doing this one in video because I feel like it. The biggest days in NoDQ.com in terms of site traffic, the biggest was the night after WrestleMania 28. Usually the night after a major pay-per-view. Those days are always huge traffic-wise. The night after WrestleMania 30 was the second biggest. And the day after the Rumble this year was the fourth biggest. CM Punk was huge. I mean, when he did the pipe bomb, the site literally crashed. And it crashed again the night of Money in the Bank when CM Punk won the title. And usually when there's a really big story, when CM Punk walked out, that whole week was huge. And, anytime there's a big news story or the day of a pay-per-view or the day after the pay-per-view, especially the big ones, and you think of the big news stories out there, Warriors' untimely death, I mean, that was a a very busy day. You know, anytime there's any kind of significant news, you know, it's always a big day. All right, this one comes from Kayfabe Candy Ass. Triple H said on the Stone Cold podcast that in his era, or in this era, excuse me, it's hard to find that one guy everyone will cheer. So my question is, how can WWE still have their head in the sand when it comes to Daniel Bryan? Vince is the only guy not cheering for him, I guess. Yeah, pretty much. With Daniel Bryan, he is one of those few guys that I think everybody loves, whether he's 60 years old or 10 years old, or a man or a woman. Doesn't matter what kind of person you are or what your background is. Everybody loves Daniel Bryan. And if you go to the live events, you can tell everybody loves the guy, regardless of age, gender, race, religion, whatever. You know, Daniel Bryan's one of those guys who is universally loved. So, you know, I would have loved for Steve Austin to have shot that back at Triple H and said, you know, Daniel Bryan is one of those guys that gets cheered by everybody. What do you think about that? But, you know, he didn't do it. I was actually a little disappointed that Austin didn't bring something up. He could have fired back at Triple H. But, you know, those guys are close. And, you know, maybe he didn't want to ask that, or he didn't want to get too confrontational with Triple H. I don't know. But, you know, that is a great point. I mean, Daniel Bryan, Steve Austin, The Rock, you know, even Hulk Hogan during his peak, those were guys that were, you know, very much loved by almost the entire audience. And, you know, in any situation, it's hard to please everybody all the time, and it's hard to win over everybody. But Daniel Bryan is one of those guys. I mean, the guy is just a tremendous performer, and it's hard not to respect the guy. It's hard to hate the guy because he's just so damn good. Ric Flair, too. Shawn Michaels. I mean, all these guys, you know, even when they're heels, they're such great athletes and performers. It's really difficult not to like them. All right, last question here from Mick IFC9, longtime viewer from Glasgow, Scotland. Turns out the match between Cena and Rusev is for the U.S. title. Can you see John Cena winning this? As much as I dislike Cena, I think it will really elevate the title with the top face as champion. Well, if John Cena is going to beat Rusev, it's going to happen at WrestleMania. I think there's a very good chance Rusev will actually beat Cena at the Fastlane pay-per-view, and that will set up the rematch at WrestleMania, because WrestleMania is the bigger stage. So, of course, John Cena, if he's going to win one of the matches against Rusev, it's going to be at WrestleMania on the big stage, of course. Will he win the title? I mean, since the title's on the line here, I'm guessing Rusev's going to win at Fastlane. And then, you know, for all we know, the U.S. title will not be on the line at WrestleMania when John Cena wins. I would be surprised if WWE put the U.S. title on John Cena at this stage of the game. But, I mean, anything's possible. I guess you cannot rule it out. But it would really surprise me. I think that WWE feels John Cena is above the U.S. title. And, you know, I don't think that they would want to put the title on him and make people think he's a mid-carder now. So I really don't think that's going to happen. All right, that'll wrap it up for this edition of NoDQ&A video. Thanks as always for watching. Subscribe, youtube.com/NoDQCAW. Stay tuned to NoDQ.com for the very latest in WWE and TNA. And I will see you guys next time for more.